Hello and welcome to Database Management Systems. I'm Javita Christie, and in this video, I'm going to explain to you subqueries in SQL. So let's begin. Subqueries in SQL are used to substitute joins, and sometimes they are able to do things which you cannot do with a join. So in order to perform the subqueries, I'm going to use the database that I created in the previous videos. And I have linked those two videos down below if you would like to create the database. It contains 4 tables: employees, departments, projects, and works on. And using this, we are going to answer some questions through which we can learn how subqueries work. Now, in this case, the first question you can see on the top of your screen that says, find names of all the people who work in the consulting department. This would require the use of two tables. One is the employees table, which looks like this, and the second one is the departments table, which looks like this. Now, to find the names of people working in consulting department, I would be doing it using a join like this. I will select the first and last name from employees and then take a join of this. Take a join of employees with departments on the columns dept code equal to code, and the condition that the name of the department must be equal to consulting. And so I'm getting 2 names, Suzy Software and Abe Advice, which is the correct answer. If you have referred to my videos on joins, this question is one of the questions that I solved there. We can, however, check the data. This is the employees table, and this is the data from the departments table. You can see that in the employees table, I have these people, Suzy Software and Abe Advice. Both of them have the code CNSLT, and in departments, we can verify that CNSLT belongs to consulting. And so the answer is correct, but this same thing can be done using a different type of a query, which is known as a subquery, where we write one query inside another query, and it looks something like this. So first of all, whatever needs to be displayed will come in the outermost query. So I'm going to write everything that needs to be displayed here. So select first name and last name from employees. Now the condition that I'm going to apply is that the dept code should be equal to, and then I'll open a bracket and write another query which says select code from departments. Here the condition I'm going to put is that the name of the department must be consulting, and then close the bracket and put a semicolon. So what you see here is a subquery, and because it's a query inside a query, you can see 2 select statements, and you can see an opening bracket and a closing bracket here. So that shows that this entire query is a subquery which is falling inside this outer query. And let's see what result it gives. It gives the same result as join because we are trying to do the same thing. It's just a different way of doing it. And what exactly we are doing here is in the outer query, whenever you see a question, try to put whatever result needs to be shown in the outer query. So first name and last name need to be displayed, and those are available in the outer query. The inner query would perform the work of conditions. Now the first condition is the dept code. I need the department to be consulting, but in the employees table, there is no mention of consulting department. It's only that code that is available. And without doing this, I cannot say what is the code of consulting. So in order to do that, I have to match the debt code with the code of consulting department. And to do that, I have to select that code from the departments table wherever the name is equal to consulting. Once that code is selected, this whole query that you see here within these two brackets, that gets replaced with that code, which means now what you've written essentially is select first name, comma last name from employees where debt code equal to CNSLT, because the whole inner query gets replaced with just this single code from here, which is CNSLT. And that's how the subquery works in practice and gives you this output. Now let us see the next question. Next, we are going to find the names of all the people who work in consulting department and who spend more than 20% of their time on the project with ID ADT 4MFIA. This is also one of the questions that I solved while I was explaining joins in my previous video. And the same thing we are going to use now. So in this case, once again, we will be using the employees table. We will be using the departments table. And we will be also using the works on table to get the assigned time. So these are the three tables that will be used. And this query is going to be slightly complicated than what we did last time, because this would involve two subqueries. So let's see how it's done. First of all, what we need to display are names of people. So just the name, first name, and the last name from employees. And the condition here is that the debt code, because what is common between employees and departments, the code of the department. So I'm going to repeat the query that we wrote earlier and select the code from departments table or the name consulting. So where name is equal to consulting. So that is one part of the query. But there's also a second thing that says that these names should be of people who spend more than 20% of their time on the project with ID ADT for MFIA. Now to do that, once I close this bracket, this is like if you have answered in the exam, if you have fill in the blanks, then this is that type of a question. What I'm trying to do is say, select first name, comma, last name from employees where debt code equal to blank. And I can add another condition now. So the other condition I have is for the employee ID to be in the which I will take from the works on table. So I'm going to select the employee ID from the works on table. But this time the condition is going to be where project ID is equal to ADT for MFIA. And another condition is that the assigned time must be greater than 0.2 and close the bracket, semicolon. You can see there's only one person appearing. Now we will verify this answer in a while, but first I'd like to draw your attention to how this query is actually structured. So like I said, whenever the bracket starts and ends, you can replace that whole thing with one big blank. So this is one big blank. And so what I'm doing is I'm saying select first name, comma last name from employees where debt code equal to, and then blank. That blank will be filled by whatever is the output of this query. And this query's output is Like we saw in the previous example, the output of this query is CNSLT. So CNSLT is filled into this blank. So we are trying to say that depth code is equal to CNSLT. Now the second part of the query is where I'm putting another condition, that is that employee ID must be in this area. So the query says select employee ID from works on where project ID is equal to ADT for MFIA and assigned time greater than 0.2. The best way to understand this is to run this query separately without the brackets, of course. So let's remove the brackets from here. And just run the query. What do you get? You get employees 2 and 5. So the reason why I have written in after employee ID, where in the previous one I've written equal to, because I know that the query here is going to return only one value. But this query is going to return multiple values because it may not return multiple values, but you cannot rule out the possibility that it might. So the project ID is this and the assigned time is this. So obviously there could be several employees having the same project ID and assigned time. So I have to use the keyword in to make sure that employee IDs are compared with all the employee IDs available here. So it's like creating a list of items. Here, this is just one value, so I'm using equal to. But this query is returning two values, so it is a list, and that's why I have to use in. Now, since this is clear, 2 and 5 are clear. So let's take a look at the employees table and see who number 2 and 5 are. 2 is pi r squared, and 5 is Abe Advice. Now, Abe Advice is in consulting department, but pi r squared is not. So the only output that we are getting is Abe Advice, since there are two conditions, that they should be in consulting department and also must satisfy this condition from works on table. So I have written this query by using two subqueries inside of this. And this type of a structure is also allowed in SQL. Now, so once again, if this query were to be read with all the answers, then it will look like select first name, comma last name from employees, where depth code equal to, this whole thing gets replaced with CNSLT, and employee ID in, this gets replaced with 2, 5. So that's what your query would look like when it is evaluated. Now let's see our next question. The next question says, find the total percentage of time assigned to employee Abe Advice. So total time assigned to employee Abe Advice. Let's clear the screen. This would require the use of the table employees, because I need to know Abe Advice. Abe Advice is the first name and last name given to us. And assigned time I can get from the works on table. So two tables are needed. Now to do this query, first of all, think about what has to be displayed in the output, the total assigned time. So you can simply write down here, select sum assigned time. Now from where can I get the assigned time? I can get it from the works on table. And here I will be adding the group by clause. The group by clause is added because I don't want the total assigned time overall. I want the total assigned time for each employee. So I will be writing group by and then employee ID. And then I'm going to add a having clause and write down that employee ID must be equal to whatever comes out of this subquery. And the subquery is going to fetch for me the employee ID of Abe Advice from the employees table. So select employee ID from employees table, where the first name is equal to Abe and the last name is equal to Advice. And close the bracket and run. It gives me 1.1, which can be verified. If you check the works on table, there are these many employees and their assigned times are given. And if you check the employees table, you can see that the code, the employee ID of Abe Advice is 5. And here, number 5 appears twice. So the total time is 0.5 plus 0.6, which is equal to 1.1. So once again, we have done this using a subquery. It can once again be done with a join also. And you can also do it with a subquery as it is shown here. So I hope this was easy to understand after learning the join. And this is not it for subqueries. I'm going to continue with a little bit more about subqueries in the next video. So I'll see you there and thank you for watching.